and the robbers. 8 to 10 minutes. Gary, say it.
Now, before we start the timing, I just want to let everybody know, this is what they call a jacktail. And jacktails have a long history in England and in Cornwall and then in the Appalachians. And so there's a lot of jacktails, many, many of them out there. The best known one, of course, is Jack and the Beanstalk. But there's many, many other ones. And so I'm going to read an old jacktail for everybody tonight. This here's another tale about Jack when he was still a small black boy. He was about 12, I reckon, and his daddy started trying to make him help out with the work around the place. But Jack, he didn't like to work much. He'd piddle around a little, but then he'd go back in the house. Till one day his daddy whipped him good. Now, Jack didn't cry, but he didn't like getting whipped. So early the next morning, he slipped off without telling his mama, and he struck out down the public road. Thought he'd go and try his fortune off somewhere from home. He got down the road a few miles, and there was an old ox standing there by the field, by a rail fence, bellowing like it was troubled over something. Hello, says Jack. What's the matter? Well, I'll just tell you, says the ox. I'm getting too old to plow, and I heard the men talking about how they were going to kill me tomorrow just to get shed of me. Well, come on down here to the gap, says Jack, and you can slip off with me. So that old ox, he followed down the fence to where the gap was, and he exited with alacrity. And they went on down the public road. Jack and the ox traveled on, and pretty soon they came to where there was an old donkey standing out down there with his head hanging down low. And he was just a-going, Hello, says Jack, what's troubling you? Law me, says the old donkey. The boys took me out to haul some wood this morning, but I'm getting so old and weak that I couldn't do no good. I heard them say they were going to kill me tomorrow just to get shed of me. Well, come on and go with us, says Jack. So we let the old donkey out, and they pulled on down the public road together. The old donkey said, Jack, you can hop on my back if you want. So he did. Well, they went on a piece, and they came to an old hound dog sitting in a man's yard. He would bark a while, and then he'd howl a while. Oh! Oh! He sounded awful lonesome. Hello, says Jack. What you a-howling for? Oh, law me, says the old dog. The boys took me coon hunting last night. They cut a tree where the coon had got up in it, and I got hold of that coon all right, but my teeth are all gone, and he got right away from me. They said they were going to kill me today just to get shed of me. Well, come on, go with us, says Jack. The old dog scrounged under the gate. Then the old donkey says to him, get on my back and ride if you want. So, don't you know, Jack helped that old dog back up on the donkey's back, and they just traveled on down the road together. Next, they come to an old tomcat, standing on top of a fence, and he was just a squalling and a meowing. They'd stop every now and then on a fence post and just go, meow, meow. Sounded right painful. Oh, law me, says the old cat. I caught a rat out in the barn this morning, but my teeth are getting so old and bad I had to let him go. I heard him talking about getting rid of me. He's going to kill me today because I ain't no good at catching rats no more. Well, come on and go with us, says Jack. So they all got up on the donkey's back. Just a little while later, they saw a rooster standing on top of a fence post. And every now and then that rooster would go, oh, 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 oh. Hello, says Jack. What's troubling you? Law me, says the old rooster. Company's coming today, and I heard they say they're going to kill me and they're going to put me in a pie. Well, come off with us, says Jack. So that old rooster, he flew on down, don't you know? And he got behind the cat and said, all right, boys, let's go. They traveled on down the road a piece till it got plumb dark out there. Well, says Jack, we got to get off this road and find us a place to stay tonight. So directly they came to a little path leading off into the woods. They decided to take that, see if they could find a staying place down there. They went on a right smart piece further, and way up they saw a house on the right in the middle of the night. Come on, said the old donkey, let's go investigate that place. Well, there wasn't nobody came to the door, and there wasn't nobody around back of the house, so they went right on in. And don't you know, they found a whole lot of good eatings in there. Jack says, now, who in the world do you reckon could be a fixin' out here in a place like this, out in the wilderness? Well, says the old donkey, it is my opinion that a gang of highway robbers lives in that house. So Jack says, looks to me like the same way, and I think we ought to stay here. And you know, if they done stole all those victuals, then we got as much right to them as they do. Yes, says the old dog, but if we stay, I believe we better get ready for a fight. The ox said he'd stay out in the yard. The old donkey said he'd take his stand on the porch just outside the door. The dog said he'd get behind the door and fight him from there. And the old tomcat, he got down in the fireplace. And the old rooster flew up on the top of the house. They all waited a while. They heard somebody coming directly. And don't you know, it was 7 highway robbers. They came on till they got pretty close to the house. Then they told one of them to go on in, start up a fire, so they could have a light to see, and they could divide up all the money that they'd stole that day. So one man went into the house, while the other 6 waited out by the gate. That man, he went over to the fireplace. He got down on his hands and knees in front of that fireplace so he could blow up the fire, you know. Well, the cat had his head right down there on that hearthstone, and the men thought that his eyes were coals of fire. So the man blew into his eyes. The cat jumped up and he scratched him on both cheeks. Ow, said the man. He started to run out of there. But don't you know, before he could even get to the door, that dog, he bit him right on the leg. That robber shook off the dog and he ran outside the door. But don't you know, there was the donkey. That donkey reared up and he kicked him right out into the yard. And then finally that ox grabbed him with his horns. He tossed him over the fence and right into the brush. And don't you know, after all that, up on the roof, that rooster started crowing real big. The other robbers, time they heard all that racket, they put out from there just as fast as they could run. The one they sent in the house, he finally got up and he started running after him just like a streak, caught up with him in no time. They called to him and said, what in the world was that racket in there? Oh, I'm killed, says the man. I won't live yet another 15 minutes. The others say, well, before you die, tell us what was all that racket in that house back there? Oh, law me, that house is plumb full of men. And they even got one up on the roof. You know, I went to blow up on that fire, and there was a man on the fireplace. He just raked me with both cheeks with an awl. So I started to run out of there, and there was a man behind the door who cut me in the leg with a butcher knife. Then I got out the door, and there was a man standing out there with a knot maul. Knocked me clean off the porch into the yard. And then there was a man standing in the yard. He caught me up on a pitchfork, and he tossed me over the fence. And that ain't the worst part of all. The worst part of all, way up on the top of the roof of that house, there was a man hollering out, Chuck, come on up here! Chuck, come on up here! Ain't no use going back with all them men in that house. Let's leave here quick before they come after us all. So them highway robbers, they ran for their lives. They kept on running till they were plumb out of that county. Jack and the ox and the old donkey and the dog and the cat and the rooster, they took possession of that house, and they just had them a big old time. At least, that's the way Jack explains it. Last I heard, Jack was back home with his folks, out in the yard, cutting up wood for his mama for their dinner. Ms. Toastmaster?
Well, don't you know, if this wasn't our last night here, it would be our last night here, because they would think we have animals down here. Complaining about us being too loud before.